Welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action, from Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to the Fast and the Furious. We will review the theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. Tonight, we are recording, or reviewing actually, and we're recording too, so I'm not wrong. The theatrical film and the film playing on HBO Max, Dune, the 2021 version, from Denis Villeneuve.
Close enough.
I even listened to the pronunciation, still messed it up. All right. I'm your host, Doc Rotten, and joining me tonight are my crew, starting off with Chris Slattery. He is the Slapman. How are you doing, sir?
Good. Tired after watching this really long movie that's, not even the whole story.
Yep. I know, 2 hours and 35 minutes. All right. Also joining us is podcasting Rockstar and international cosplay queen, Vanessa. How you doing, Vanessa?
I'm doing good. I'm channeling my inner space witch tonight.
No space witches.
Excellent.
Yes.
Don't make me use my voice.
No. Also joining us, award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. Welcome, sir.
I'm here. The spice. I really don't have anything witty to say. I'm drained of being stuck in Arrakis for 2.5 hours.
All right. Well, we want to welcome our special guest, Jeff Morian, who is a uber fan of the original source material, Dune. Is that right, sir?
Yes, I am. I am indeed. And I think this is only my second time on Heroes and Droids, and the music just makes me smile when it's playing behind the screen. So I like it.
Nice. All right. Well, what we're here to do is review the movie Dune. We're going to give our first impressions. That will be spoiler free. And then we're going to dive into a discussion about the film, and we will dive into the spoilers. There's a few. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. But of course, before we do, we hope that you enjoy not only this review, but many others we have on the site. And if you would like to help us out, it would be easy and free to do. You hit the subscribe button, share with a friend, hit the like button. All that does us wonders, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much. And of course, more than that, we want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Look forward to those. All right, what is this movie we are doing? Dune, available in theaters and on HBO Max beginning October 22nd, 2021. Directed by Denis Villeneuve. Written by John Spates. Why do these names? Denis Villeneuve. Eric Roth, based on the book by Frank Herbert. The cast includes Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Jason Momoa, Stellan Skarsgård, Stephen McKinney Henderson, Josh Brolin, Javier Bardem, Sharon Duncan Brewster, Shen Chang, David Bautista, David Dashmelchian. I've mispronounced that earlier this year as well, and Zendaya.
Excellent.
Yes, I got, 8 out of 10. Synopsis is a feature adaptation of Robert Herbert's science fiction novel about the son of a noble family entrusted with the protection of the most valuable asset and the most viral element in the galaxy. May the force be with him. Yes, let's get into this.
May the spice with you.
Yeah.
Well,
That also works with the Star Wars.
yes.
Fair enough.
Yes. We'll get there. All right, let's dive into our first impressions. And I do want to start off with our guest, Jeff.
Oh,
please, sir. What was your first impression?
This is going to be easy. I loved every single thing about this movie. I thought the music or the score was phenomenal. I loved the acting. I loved the costumes, the sets, the worlds, the technology, the ships, the ornithopter, which is a kind of a neat name. And I read this book. This book is the original book, Dune. The first novel in the series is one of my favorite books of all time. I would have a hard time coming up with something I liked better. It's something that made me think about a lot of things. And without saying too much about it, I mean, even Frank Herbert talked about it but I think Villeneuve has gotten all of that stuff into this. Of course, in the novel, there's a lot more detail. There's a lot more training of Paul Atreides, and there's a lot more, everything is a little more interaction with the Bene Gesserit. And so, but the key points are in here. Every one of these scenes in here, I was like, oh crap, I remember that. I read this book quite a while ago. So it's interesting to me that it's so for me, as somebody that loved the book, this movie resonates the book almost perfectly. I can see how some people might think it's kind of slow, but I just loved it. The layers, and not to, without saying anything else, what I remember from an interview with Frank Herbert was it's really about the Messiah complex and what happens when too many people are following somebody unquestionably, and what if they make a mistake. And then built into that is a feudal system and politics and mysticism and people operating behind the scenes and all that stuff. So anyway, I'm done gushing.
It does have all that. It has all that.
I've watched it twice, and I'm going to watch it again because I still haven't seen it in a theater, and this begs to be seen in a theater. I think
it kind of does. It kind of does. I will give you that, sir, for sure. Slapman, give us your first impression of Dune.
First things first, I am impressed that you managed to find 5 hours to squeeze in two viewings of this movie. And I think it's a movie that does get better every time you watch it. You start to notice things. I haven't been able to watch it all the way through, but after watching it, I did manage to sneak in like the first 20-30 minutes or so again. And there's a lot of things that you miss, especially after you know the world a little bit. So this definitely begs to be seen more than once. Now for my actual first impression. I've seen masterpiece been thrown around a lot on the internet with this movie, and I don't think I can agree with masterpiece, but I think it does a lot right. It does a lot right. It gets the world down perfectly, I think. The costumes, the set design, the music, everything like that, it's very, very well done. I would even say the tone and with the script is also very well done. And if I remember correctly, it's fairly accurate to the way they talk in the book too. Jeff, does that sound accurate?
From what I remember,
Yeah, it's
I mean,
so they've nailed adapting Dune to the big screen. It's Dune. It's the first half of Dune, but it's Dune. And that kind of leads me to my big negative, and I'm gonna try to not spoil it, but we're also talking about a 60-year-old book at this point.
Stop.
My biggest issue
55.
Oh, 55. Sorry, I rounded up. Now I got that Sammy Hagar 55 stuck in my head.
Oh.
My biggest problem with it is that it doesn't really have any finality to it. And I know it's not supposed to because it's part 1 of 2, and it is basically the first half of the story, but I don't know. I felt kind of empty when the credits rolled, and I really want to reserve most of my judgment for when I really hope part 2 comes out and I can watch the whole story and see the whole thing adapted. But I think it's really good. It's a great part 1, and if they can if they put this much love into part 1, I think part 2 will be just as good. I hope.
I hear you. Excellent. Yeah. Well, now we just have to get that part too. All right, Vanessa, what was your first impression of Dune?
I also watched this twice.
Oh wow! Nice.
Yay!
I'm
Yeah.
you know.
I know. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was beautiful. I thought the acting was really good. I really like the way these characters were brought to life by these actors. We mentioned earlier the costuming is just so phenomenal. The cinematography is beautiful. I know a little bit about the story. I watched the 1984 one in preparation for this.
Brave girl.
That was a weird, yeah, that was a weird movie. Uh, fun, I guess you could say, to watch to kind of laugh at, because that is definitely a strange movie. But my biggest first impression about this is I really appreciated the reverence it had for the sacred female in this story. You don't get that in the version from 1984. It's really like, here's a guy who can do everything better than women, so let's give him the power so that he can save all the women. That's what I got from the 84 version. But in this one, it feels more like a secret sacred power that is being shared. There's a reverence for what women have, what they can teach, what they can show, what they can do in the universe. And that really stood out to me in this movie. And maybe that's why I'm liking it so much in general. But just as a straight across like sci-fi movie, I really like it a lot.
Awesome. Let's see if this continues. Christopher G. Moore, what is your first impression of Dune?
You're setting me up. Let's see what you're doing there.
Don't make me invoke Farmer Vincent.
I'm gonna leave a thumper near your house. So the Beetlejuice worm gets you. I think if anything, this made me realize how much Dune has inspired so many things out there, including Star Wars. I just kept seeing so many things that reminded me of Star Wars. Visually, this is one of the best special effects movies that's come out probably in the last decade. So I'll say that right off the bat. The production design, the costuming, Jeff mentioned the ships like the Ornithopter, which I think is probably one of the most amazing new types of ships that I've never seen. That seems like it could probably work in this universe. I could see people cosplaying for years on end some of the outfits in this movie. Even the certain things like visually, which they turned it into like Minecraft block guys when they're fighting in the Dune movie, the 1984 movie.
Creepers, like creepers.
Creepy, like really, really bad special effects. They actually made it into something that I actually was kind of cool. I was kind of watching it, how they sort of like just visually brought that to life. So, and I think that's the thing about the director. He's so good at like creating, taking technology and putting in, into sci-fi and sort of, making your eyes go crazy. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I think that is the strength of this film, is based on the use of that. That's the reason Christopher Nolan, who of all people has worked with a lot of special effects, that this is the best melding of CGI and practical stuff. I mean, and the thing is, like, if there was ever a movie definition of scope, this film would be it. This movie is epic. It has scope. I mean, there's parts where you have these wide shots of these, like this big, like, tunnel thing in space, and all these little like small ships are flying out of it, or just like when ships land, or there's like one part where, like most of the time when you want special effects scenes, you want it to happen in perfect light, and there's a scene where there's a ship that lands and when it's raining and storming, and it's so freaking cool. And then there's certain elements of that I was really enamored by and interested in, like the I call them space nuns or space witches or whatever you want to call them, which are supposedly they're making some spin-off show on HBO Max. I'm actually interested in seeing that. There's certain elements that I liked, but then when it came to other things, it kind of reminded me why I've never liked any most Dune interpretations. I think this is probably the best. I've seen bits and pieces of the Sci-Fi series. I've seen the 1984 thing. You know, I've never had any kind of interest in that. It's my least interested sci-fi concepts have been in the Dune universe. I don't know why. And I think if this is a really good translation, this definitely doesn't want to make me to read the book anytime soon, because I feel like there's people who are talking in this sort of like overly poetic thing to where it just seemed like it almost seemed like somebody was trying to save words in their screenplay. It's like one dream, you know, my Dune, you know, it's like, oh God, if I hear one more, like, you know, I feel like I was in poetry class when it came to certain scenes, and it sucked me out of the film. I just like, this is like so overly dramatic. And then, because everything is written on its sleeve when it comes to religion and all this stuff, it became a little bit more like, oh, you know, it just, I don't know. I think it's very strong, but I didn't really care as much about the characters. And I think with it being a part one, it felt missing something, you know, and they teased at certain things, which should have been a build up to things. There's a tease of something at the very end. And then you have, yeah. And then you have what's her Zendaya or whatever. He's like, her whole thing is like looking into the camera or turkey. I mean, this is basically her whole role in like 30 seconds or few minutes of the film. Yeah, I don't know. I had certain issues, but I mean, the incorporate the technology, the world building, you know, everything came together with the technology. I mean, even the wars weren't like your normal sci-fi things where you see lasers and stuff. There's I mean, the way they have like bombs and stuff that, you know, there's really some beautiful, I mean, the cinematography is amazing in this when it comes to creating a sci-fi epic, but I don't know. When it came down to the characters and stuff, I didn't really care as much about them. And it felt like a first episode of a TV show where it felt incomplete by them dividing it. And I think that's always been the problem with Dune. They always have to like either jam in too much stuff or take out everything or just imply certain things. Cause I've always like, for some reason, I always thought like, is the portly gross dude, does he have powers? and then I had to like find out like, oh, there's certain things that make him float. And, you know, there's, I don't know, some things that just, and also I had to turn on subtitles because I don't know if it's just everybody whispering or using a lot of their poetic dialogue or saying stuff that doesn't make sense. And there's definitely a lot of exposition in this film where they just go into explaining a million different things. Well, they have to, because otherwise I don't know what the hell's going on. So, and I still don't know everything that's going on. So, and I've heard like, oh, the next part will deal more politics. Yay. Which I assume the whole story's about, but that's like, to me, that's like the boring parts of Star Wars is when they get into the politics stuff. So I don't know. I'm probably not the best person to review this film because I've never been a big fan of it. And I think this is the best translation, but that's not saying a lot. But I guess when it comes to special effects and the world and everything, the paintbrush he's using to tell the story is probably one of the best visual effects movies. It's been probably in the last decade or longer. So it has that going for it. But for some reason, the characters fell flat to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of have a similar problem, is that while technically it is brilliant. I mean, it is a gorgeous film. There's you never doubt what you're seeing, even though it's, you know, far-flung fantasy sci-fi stuff. You know, it makes sense in this world that they are building. And but it does have a lot of exposition. It's very thick and heavy with that. And what happened is, for me, is I didn't really connect with the characters as much as I like Timothée Chalamet in this role, and Rebecca Ferguson for that matter. I still didn't really have a connection for them, and I had more connection between him and Duncan Idaho, to be honest. so it was a little. I guess I just wasn't invested, so it fell flat in the emotional aspect of it. But technically, I would watch it again just to see it, right? Just to watch the effects and to see it, and maybe catch up because I have a little more background to it. I was never a fan. I've never been a fan of the source material or of the previous movies and stuff, and it's just. Yeah, I'm more deep into the Star Wars. Make it a little, raise up the fantasy, make it a little more jovial and light, and I'll be on board. But so I guess I'm in Chris's camp in that way, and that I'm probably not the target audience, although I kind of am. But okay. So one thing, even though I didn't like the characters, I will say the cast is incredibly strong. Jason Momoa really is great in his role. It's I wish it was larger. I wish he had more to do. But the person that really, for me, made the biggest impression is Stellan Skarsgård as the Baron Harkonnen, because he just oozed evil from his expressions to the way he looked. They had these great shots of him just in the mist at the beginning, and then when he floats, it's just the most amazing thing visually. So the cast is really, really strong, and I think Rebecca Ferguson is really good too. There's something going on there that I'm still trying to figure out, and I think that part of left me frustrated, is like, because I don't know enough about the source material, is whether she's what is she really after? What's her goal here? Because it seems like she's against things that she should be for, and I'm wondering what's going on. And I figure there's probably something there, and I'll find out in a couple of years when they make it. But yeah, so my impression is it's kind of I'm awestruck, but at the same time I'm not emotionally. It didn't really get like this power to it. It's more eye candy.
I can see that. I see a lot of that online, so I don't think you're alone.
I think it's interesting talking with you with everybody, because at least for me, I really wonder what it's like if you hadn't read the book, how much you would get and how much you wouldn't get, and if it would be okay, what they give you is enough, even though you don't know some of the background to it. And I think that might be part of the problem. I mean, I literally got goosebumps when Duncan Idaho showed up, and when I realized that
I think Vanessa did too.
Brolin was good. Well, but because he was such a key character, and he had such a bond with Paul. So
Vanessa some grief.
I think.
Sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
So anyway, that's and there was lots of scenes like that, and I don't know that I don't want to try to explain, use this review for explaining, but I can see how that can be a problem.
I think that's why this movie is so strong on the second viewing, because things make so much more sense after you've seen it the first time. Things that are explained at hour 2 that are brought up in hour 1 make a little bit more sense.
Well, we are in spoilers, so everybody watching, we are in spoilers.
Okay.
So emotionally, the one part that did get me involves Duncan Idaho, and that's his sacrifice in that hallway, especially in the really heroic way they did it, right? They executed it where he rises up and pulls a sword out of his chest, and with his last dying breath he slays a couple more and buys them enough time to escape. And I felt that loss, but that was kind of it for me. So
no, when Leto is getting tortured, well, technically he's not tortured in this. It's an assumption he's been tortured, and he's lying there naked. I had to fast forward through it the second time, because to me that was too intense for me.
really
Seeing
nice.
Seeing the
Okay.
relationship that he had built with Paul up until that point, knowing that he was going into a death trap basically, and there was nothing really that could be done about it. Um, and then also in the moment, like he's telling him, like, your son is dead, your wife is dead, everything you've ever known is dead. You know, he's been betrayed by some this confidant of his, and Oscar Isaac, the amazing actor that he is, he's got tears rolling down
I know. I
his
saw that.
eyes. Yeah, as he's delivering these lines. Like, to me, that scene was so powerful, just as a scene in cinema, I think, you know. And then Stellan Skarsgård's character, it's such an Apocalypse Now kind of interpretation of
That's
that
a
character.
good call there. Yeah.
Right, especially with the sweat and everything dripping off of him. He's so just disgusting. I can't wait to see what he's going to look like now after he's been affected by that poison. But that moment, to me, it really struck me as an emotional moment.
Well, I have a question. I mean, I see that, but it didn't affect me as much as Doug and I do. But I have a question for Jeff concerning that scene. Is they I think I heard them call each other cousin. Are they related, or is that just a reference?
Well, I don't recall the two of them, but you find out later that Lady Jessica is the Baron's daughter.
Ah,
That's
a spoiler
Yeah.
on top of a spoiler. That's mega spoiler. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
We'll spoil stuff that's coming in your future.
Wow, okay.
Well, so the whole thing is, you know, the Bene Gesserit is this female organization that's orchestrating this change in the background, and they have a goal, and the goal is this Kwisatz Haderach that's supposed to be the one that people are going to unite behind, and it's supposed to be a woman, and she and she's paired with Leto, I guess they pronounced it in the film, and she's supposed to have a daughter by him that will be the mother of the Kwisatz Haderach. But then she changes it; she can affect it, and she has a boy to keep Leto happy so that he has an heir. But then she starts training the boy and all that stuff. So, you know, all their you know, methods, I guess. And there's kind of a weird thing here, Vanessa, what you said about the women, because they're really the ones that are like doing things. They're planning and doing things over centuries. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're getting very close to it. But what happens with this is going to sound really wacko.
Well, don't tell us anything about the next films. Don't tell us anything about anything after these films.
Okay, I have to stop there then.
Okay, yeah, I was going to stop it.
I don't really care. If it wasn't tell me all you want.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's more dense than I want in a movie. That's
what I love and I think it's one of those things. That book, I think the book hit me, you know, at the right time, and it was such a mirror of things like the politics of oil in the Middle East, and the type of world, and what's it like, what's the primo value in that world. They have all this oil, yet they don't have enough water to live on, you know. And so that's kind of like, and you need oil for gas and everything. Well, you can't have interstellar travel without spice. So that there's a lot of I don't know. He takes it a lot farther than the reality of it, but there's a lot of things in there that are based on the real world, and just him thinking it through and coming up with different scenarios and modifications.
Do you think that they will explain the time travel, the interstellar travel? Do you think they'll explain that at all? Because that was really just kind of glazed over, right?
I know. They just kind of said it in a voiceover. I don't know, this idea of the guild, the Space Guild, and these guys that are trained in using the spice to be able to see the connections and the time. Yeah, I don't know that you can actually explain that other than just know that that's what it does.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of confused about. I was like, are they just trading spice to travel in space, or they using it in their? I mean,
No.
I was like, there's so
some
many.
sort
So
of
that's what
like
the-
creatures
Some
that
kind of
like
hallucinogenic thingy.
That's what the
Well,
blue.
yeah.
That's what the blue eyes are too. If you got blue eyes, you're spice addicted or spice.
I am spice.
You have their eyes.
Well, I
would glow
understand
blue.
that part of it, but I didn't understand what they meant. Like you use it for space travel. Is that just because it helps them
Navigate.
Yeah, it's sort of
by
a,
having
it's,
someone who's like on spice?
Yes.
Okay. See, there's like so many things.
Well, they
that
can't have
Yeah.
all the technology, so they have these. This spice allows them to see all these interstellar connections between the whatever those tubes are that they're flying through. I forget how that's explained, but
Are the tubes they? My brain hurts. This is what I
well,
hate
they
about
had.
this. Is like,
I think
there's
they
so
had something
many.
kind of like that in Babylon 5.
Yeah, it's like Stargates
yeah.
or something. Is that what it is?
Kind of like gates or black holes to different. You're transported to different spots, that kind of thing.
Think of it like the pipes from Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow! It
There
even
you go.
influenced Mario.
That's why he's so super. He's all hocked up on spice.
Spice, yeah.
What do you think the super mushrooms are?
Oh, I
Hallucinogenics.
jumped. I like jumped up and clapped when I could see it come in the pain box because that's a huge
Oh, the
scene in the book.
Bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Well, I would also say that Charlotte Rampling as the Reverend Mother was intense as well. That scene, like you were saying, that she comes in there with that box and the needle.
Gorgeous.
She was great. I mean,
The design, yeah.
well, yeah, any of those. I mean, that kind of stuff made me very interested because it just seemed like I hate talking about Star Wars in this, but I mean, it's like the Space Jedi type thing, and almost like if you combine the Sith with the Jedi, get these group of people. But I mean, just their look. I mean, the look of any of the different people and stuff, their costuming and stuff was amazing. And I mean, you guys are. I wasn't, to be honest, I wasn't really like. I thought Stellan Skarsgård was okay, but
Oh really?
I thought he was
Okay.
okay. I just, I think his makeup helped his performance, but I think Rebecca Ferguson, I think, was amazing. If she does not get an Oscar nomination for her performance,
Oh nice. Okay.
the Oscars should stop.
Nah.
Because I mean, she's on so many different levels of emotion in this film that most actresses would love to have over a lifetime of acting. Because there's parts where she's having to hold back emotion, where she lets emotion out. I mean, there's like so many different levels that she has to emote in this film. It's just craziness. And I think she helps to elevate other people that she's in scenes with. Because I think Timothy or Timothy, whatever you pronounce, he wants to pronounce his. I think it's Timothy. I think I think he's elevated by that. I think otherwise, I think his performance would be less than what it is, if not the people around him. At least in my opinion.
I thought he was excellent. I thought he was.
Well,
It's okay, but
to kind of go with what Chris said, I think part of it,
Vanessa, what do you? Oh.
I heard it. I heard it stirring up.
Oh, I'm sorry. To kind of go on with what Chris said, what both Chris's said, she did a great job, but I think it's even more impressive the second time around because you start to realize she has crossed the Bene Gesserit by having a son. And so when she's facing the Reverend Mother, there's a little bit of, fear and and anxiety built in there. And when she's outside the door and they're testing her son, she's scared to death. And there's a lot of that in different scenes like that where you can see her, because she is kind of working against their overall plan, after she had a son. Anyway, she's does a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to talk about Javier Bardem at all? Yes.
he's not in it that much, but
He doesn't have that
He's
much to
good.
do, but he's a cool character.
Yeah,
Well,
he's a good
has
character.
He has some of the better scenes. I thought. I really love the scene where he comes in and he's all, Yeah,
He spits.
yeah, it's
No,
everything. The whole introduction of him, I liked.
I
He's a good character.
especially liked how they played off the two different cultures so well. How when he came in, like everybody was just like, stop right there, and he just kept going, and everybody got real tense. And but you could see that Jason Duncan was sitting there and was just like, no, this is fine, everybody calm down.
Well,
Like that.
obviously the name, the Fremen name, is supposed to mean like free men, right? I'm assuming that was Herbert's intention, because when I watch this, that's kind of what I get. Like, these are the people who want to be free.
Yeah, the free men. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I got out of it too. I thought that wasn't a coincidence.
So it would make sense they would go in and
yeah.
not let people tell them what to
Well,
do.
that's when I read the book. I called them in my mind. I read that as Freeman.
Okay, yeah.
So.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. We'll go in the same order. So, Jeff, sir, that means you are first. Flying in my room.
I think this is worth. Yeah, okay, you should see this in the theater. I'm sorry, find it. Go during the day or early morning on the weekends or something when there's not a crowd. If you're worried. That's what I do. Because of the scope, I like what Chris said about the scope. It's got a magnificent scope. I think it would benefit you all to read the book. If you're tweaked by this at all, because as books often are, it's far more detail and far more into it. The first book is, like I said, is one of my favorite books. The ones that follow, not as near as much, because I think I got this whole dose of what it was about, and this idea and this philosophy and these crazy interactions. And after that, it was tough for me to stick with it as much. Although I would like to read them again. So go see this. This is great. I'm giving this a 5, at least for me.
Nice.
And I can't find anything wrong with it. Even the changes they made, they eliminated, Liet Kynes, who's supposed to be the emissary of the Emperor, kind of in the changeover. I forget who was playing her, but anyway, that was a man in the book, and I think changing that to female is a great addition. Favorite scene? We're doing favorite scene. Since I get to go first, I'm going to go with the ganja bar.
Is that the sandworm?
No, that's
No.
the pain box and the needle.
Oh, the pain box. Okay. What's the sandworm's name?
Shai Halou.
Shai Halou.
Yes. I start getting lost in all those names.
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf.
Oh no.
Well, there's a cool thing that was hinted at in like the last scene that I'm not sure if you would get.
Oh no, I know. I've seen the movie.
Which was they should have saved that for the next movie.
Or
just show it full on.
Yes,
that's just a waste.
Yes.
It's a waste.
Needed to be a little bit more. Need to be a little bit more rewarding. Yeah, it was more of a tease. Like, or put in a stinger, because that was a stinger material. All right, Slapman, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
I think this is an excellent part 1 of the story. This has got me very excited for what part 2 can be. And I really want to see. I really want to see them finish this story, and I want to see them put as much love into it, because clearly there was a lot of love put into it, from the details to the casting to the music to the costume design to the sets to even the effects that they use. Everything just flows so well in that space. I don't have any issues with the acting or the script. I realize that it doesn't bother me that it feels all You know, I don't know if the word Shakespearean was tossed around when we were talking about it, but I've heard that a lot from people, and it doesn't really bother me because the way I view it is that these are so different. These are different cultures than what we're used to. So if that's the way they talk, then that's the way they talk, you know. But I understand if people have issues with it because it makes it hard to follow, or it kind of it's not dialect we're used to, I guess is a good way to put it. So I totally understand why that's a big negative that I've seen online for a lot of people. Yeah, I like it for what it is, and the more I think about it, and the more I watch of it a second time around, I think I like it more. So I'm gonna say the first time I watched it, credits rolled, it was a 4. As time has gone on, it has grown to a 4.5. I don't think it'll go above a 4.5 for me because that ending just felt so empty. It felt so it didn't feel final enough, but at the same time I can't think of a better place to really end the part 1. So I don't know. I think they did the best with what they could. I'm really excited for part 2. Yeah, and I think this one's just going to keep growing on me. The longer I think about it, the more times I see it. My favorite scene is when the sandworm eats the spice miner. And the very tense the tense moments leading to that. I thought that was a great action scene, a great set piece for this universe and for this movie. And man, the special effects of that desert worm eating it looked phenomenal.
Looked like what's a Sarlacc? Yeah.
It looked like a Sarlacc on steroids.
Yes,
That
it
could
did.
except we know that Sarlaccs don't move quite as aggressively.
They don't move at all. They plant themselves. That's the difference. Yeah,
but they have little arms.
Yes,
So
they
they
didn't
can't
know
move.
that. I didn't know that. So I
They
wanted
do
to
have tiny arms. We know that now.
All right. Vanessa, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, and your favorite scene.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. Visually, I enjoyed the way the story was told. I enjoyed immersing myself in this new kind of world that Herbert created. And I think more so because it was delivered by somebody who truly loves the property, who's loved the property in his entire life and has really done all that he could to get to this point to make the best Dune film that he could. And that really shows in this. Um, trust me, I love the Star Wars stuff. I love the shoot 'em up, fun, handsome, hunky guys and all that. And but sometimes it's nice to take a step back and do something a little bit slower and a little bit darker and a little different from what we normally see. And personally, I really like the infusion of intergalactic kind of Middle East and the culture around that and the religion that's developed in this. And I really enjoyed that a lot. Um, so I think I'm gonna give this one a 5 too.
Oh, nice, nice.
I am. I just like the movie as for itself. Like throw out the that, oh, it's Frank Herbert, oh, it's Dune, oh, it's too much. Like I just as a movie I enjoyed it. Um so okay. Favorite scene anytime Duncan Idaho's on screen on the screen. Okay, that's one. Second, absolutely the Gom Jabbar. That scene is gorgeous and so well acted and tense and when the music starts playing when he's really channeling this power within himself that his mother is also kind of that is a beautiful scene. But if I had to follow it up, it would be the one with Leto right as he's about to have his last
Mm.
moments, and in that room, and just the exchanges that happen in that room with the doctor, and what Harkonnen is telling him about his family, and everything that's happening like that. And and I think it all really rests on Oscar Isaac. He's just such a great actor, and he was able to just really make me feel that pain in that moment. So yeah, I really like that one a lot, and I love seeing a bunch of the Harkonnens die.
There you go. There you go. All right, that leaves Christopher G. Moore. Sir, your final thoughts, your score, and your favorite scene.
Well, I think the director, this is something he's been building to with a lot of his sci-fi films he's done in the past. And I think I think his love for the subject matter and his ability to create sci-fi magic with his production design and costuming, I think is, on par with some of the best things ever made in cinema history when it comes to sci-fi projects. I think visually, if you were to say masterpiece, I think visually there's elements that make this a masterpiece visually. But I had issues with some of the characters. I think they didn't really connect as much, to where even when there's really emotional scenes, like the scene with Oscar Isaac, it didn't really impact me as much because I didn't really see the connection there wasn't as much chemistry between the characters to me, for me to sort of like be emotional about things. But I think I was more impacted by Rebecca Ferguson's Ferguson, I think her name is.
Mm-hmm.
I was more impacted by her performance just alone. I think she's a powerhouse actress who just really impressed me by her scenes and stuff. And I think and normally I'm all about a lot of times I'm about films that are more style over substance, and this has substance. It's just not the kind of substance that I'm actually as interested in, I guess. I think and I think because because it's trying to like take all this stuff and translate it so much, it's still packed full, even though it's a one-parter. So I think there's just certain things that fall flat, when it comes to the characters. But then there's other things I'm deeply interested in, like the Space Witches. I want to see more of those ladies, and I hope if they do a series, I'll be there first day watching on HBO Max, because I love that. I love those characters. So I mean, visually, like I said, this is one of the best visual effects powerhouse films that's come out probably in the last decade, if not longer. And this is amazing. If I was wowed by anything, my jaw dropped during certain scenes where you'd see those huge, big shots of stuff, or even like some of the war scenes. You'd see like these little, and they're not like the normal type of missiles that just go straight. They're like, ooh, they're whiz banging left and right, and that just seems like so crazy and hectic and beautiful but scary at the same time. And those are the scenes that really impacted me, or the little computer mosquito, whatever the hell that thing was. I mean, there's things like that I thought were really well done, or like they're fighting whatever the hell that thing is that protects them or whatever when they're fighting and stuff. Shield, yeah. I guess a force field for their body. And also it just made me pay attention. There's like several scenes that felt like, oh, use the voice, Paul. It just felt like it kept reminding me of things of Star Wars. So I can definitely see the inspirations, but at the same time, there's just certain things that didn't work. I'll shut up now. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. I think it's beautiful. I think it's a gorgeous film. I think just some of the characters I wasn't as impacted by, and I think it's kind of dropped off. I think when you things like Lord of the Rings, I was more impacted by those individual things, even though it was a 3-parter. But this felt like they just stopped. And I think to tease certain things at the very end when it probably could have happened earlier. But I don't know, I guess maybe the book wise it doesn't. But I don't know. I felt like there was a lot of things that could have been, I don't know. So much stuff, not enough time to tell a story. And I think that's always been the problem with Dune. It's always be the problem, no matter how many iterations happen in this future. As for favorite scene, I probably I'm gonna say when the I'm gonna keep calling the space witches. When the space witches arrive, I'll say their arrival is one of my favorite scenes. Because it felt a lot like ET, you know, when the spaceship comes down at night, but it visually, the rain and then them coming in their outfits and stuff, it just like, oh man, this is just like,
and the
this
music.
is what scope epicness is all about. And then you got
Yeah.
the music. I mean, those type of scenes, like, ooh, I was like engrossed, you know. That's the times when I was like, I couldn't take my eyes off the film. And then we got like, ah, when are we going to show the space arms again? Or just more like, I just want to see this or that. But anyway, that's my favorite scene, I guess.
Well, I'll try to keep this short because we've gone over long. I have similar issues like Christopher. You know, I think it's a beautiful film. I think Denis Villeneuve will get nominated for an Oscar. It'll be interesting to see if he'll win or not. But I definitely think he deserves a nomination. I think he's done the what most people think couldn't be done. Right? It's much like when they did Lord of the Rings. It's just one of these epic stories that are so hard to translate, and they did it. The only problem for me is, you know, despite the visuals, despite the great actors, despite, you know, just the awesome soundtrack and the great cinematography, it's like they lost me on the characters. I just wasn't drawn into their plight and what was going on, and with some exceptions. Still, I'll give it a 4. I'll give it a very strong 4, leaning into higher. And I think I'm going to take your advice, Slatman and Jeff, and Vanessa as well. I'm going to watch it again and see if a second viewing, because now that I have some fresh background, and you know, I don't think that Harkin's going to be this ginger balloon running around with words on his face.
Ooh, he was so gross.
He was gross. He's grosser than Skarsgård, but Skarsgård was more threatening. He was incredibly frightening. I thought he was excellent. I mean, visually, when he rose up and, you know, floated with his gown all the way down to the ground, just that visual alone is just like stunning. One of many that, you know, throughout the film, not only with him but other characters as well. There's just stunning shots, stunning, where they set things up. So my favorite scene is surprisingly not going to be with him, but it's going to be with Javier Bardem when he comes in for the first time, and he goes into to meet Lido and all the rest of them, and there's an underlying sense of humor about it that I found, even though it's not a humorous scene at all, and it's just a culture clash. They're ready to strike him down, and he's trying to just basically communicate, right? And the only person that can, you know, really bridge the gap is Duncan, right? So, and the way he handles it is just makes you really like that character even more. And the little hint between him and Paul, you know, as he leaves, you know, you get the idea this is all going to, you know, this is all going to come back around, right? You know, this is foretelling in a hard way. But I really just love how that scene was executed. It's not a unique scene now. I'm sure it was back in '65 when the book was written, but now, you know, we've had where people come storming in and, you know, confrontations and stuff, you know, probably film after film, TV show after TV show. But it just really, I really enjoyed it here with the, you know, the cast, the characters, and the dialogue. The only thing that worries me is that, you know, it's kind of bubbling close to white savior problems here with Paul. But I think the only thing that keeps it from being that is that because the mom, you know, is going against tradition saves it from that problem, I think. That's a little heavy to end on.
The directors addressed that kind of stuff recently. It's more, I mean, the main story is supposed to be more about anti-heroes, that we build up this mythology around people being this savior character, and a lot of times it's false prophecy a lot of times, or false reasons
that
behind
was Herbert's
That's
whole
Herbert's,
take on
right?
the Messiah complex.
Yeah, because somebody asked him on this little press tour about it, and it's always been there, but I guess it's easy to see that when you have this little pasty white dude helping these people in the desert, or
he's not even from there, right? So he's but anyway, we don't want to get all into that, because that could be another hour.
Yeah, although I'll say there's scenes in this film that could make beautiful paintings, so gorgeously framed.
Yeah, it's almost like watching a moving painting.
Yeah. I mean, there's just like where it's the ships, or even the crazy dude floating. I mean, it's framed perfectly, because there's these wide shots of it. And Jeff, I don't know if you've seen the pictures people have shown, but supposedly in IMAX you see even more of the screen. And so talk about scope.
Cool.
They've cut off like the top and the bottom of it.
Yeah.
So like the scene when Dave Bautista like walks out, you see all this stuff that's above and below him. So I'm almost like, I don't normally go to IMAX that much, but I may venture out.
Yeah, there's one down in Des Moines. It's about an hour away, but that might be worth that.
Mm-hmm. All right, we need more riding sandworms, that's for sure. So we'll get that in a sequel.
Yeah, show it up front, and don't throw it off in
we'll get it
distance, and as a like throwaway thing. Come on.
That would have been a good little stinger, wouldn't it? They didn't want to do that, but they did.
They can't let you know how they get around so fast.
Yeah,
I can't. I don't know. Is the doctor character in the book?
Yes,
Jeff?
Leah Kynes. Yeah.
Does she go? Does she go that same way in the book?
Oh, you mean her? I don't think I don't think so.
Because I think that would have been a perfect time
for her to
ride off.
Well, that's what she has in her hands.
That's what I kind of figured she was going to do, and they didn't do it. And that's one of the things I got pissed about, because I want to see people riding sandworms. That's what I was thinking. Damn it.
She sees a worm. That's what I'm with you.
Or anus worms, because that close up of the worm in that one shot, I was like, oh, let's not focus on the.
Look, we recorded.
We got too
far into this.
Male character.
That's a warning sign there. All right, well, Vanessa, Christopher, Slatman, thank you for joining me, and Jeff, thank you for guesting with us. We appreciate you coming on and bringing your love for the source material with us.
Thanks for letting me butt in. I think I actually texted you and said, "Are you doing Dune?" Yeah. Can I be on?
We need that voice of reason. You know.
Yeah, be our voice. You are the voice. Yeah.
The voice.
Let me in.
I have to practice that on. This place is going to get rotten.
There you go. All right, let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.